Hey, music fans, I'm with Pat and Cam and Bucky from Down With Webster at Blues Fest. Hey, guys.
Here we are. What's up?
Listen, what I'm most down with Webster is the fact that you guys started out as friends and music fans first.
Yes,
spending all your money on records, turning each other on to stuff, really getting into the music for music's sake. Do you feel that gave you guys a sort of advantage starting out?
I think it gave us maybe a disadvantage because we listened to way too much stuff and we couldn't put it all into songs. We had like too many different kinds of songs. Like we didn't know what kind of band we were for the first like
we definitely
3 years.
The long route to finding our sound as a band. We experimented with like every style of music and eventually figured out a way to sort of mash them up so each song sort of sounded like the same band, as opposed to, okay, we're going to do a jazz song and a blues song and a hip-hop song and a rock song. Now it just sounds like Down With Webster.
If that answered anything. I don't know if we did or not, sorry.
What were some of the cornerstone albums or songs or bands that you guys sort of, I guess, had a consensus around and that, you know, sort of inspired you guys?
That's the thing. There wasn't really like, you know...
There's a consensus on some stuff.
Yeah, but like but the same way that's like there's a consensus. It's not all just one, you know, genre. Like it could be anywhere. Like I remember we'd listen to Stevie Wonder albums and then turn around and put on Wu-Tang and then, you know, like it's kind of like...
What are some consensus albums? Can you think of those?
Stevie Wonder's a big one.
Yeah,
actually.
That's a big one.
Songs in the Key of Life. That was Stevie's.
So Songs in the Key of Life. I'd say another one was probably Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Evil Empire. T.I. Urban Legend was a big one in our band.
Chronic 2001.
Yeah, that was a big one. Dr. Dre. Anything else you can think of?
Well, I don't know. I could list a bunch of stuff. I don't know.
No, but like consensus albums that we played all the time.
We all kind of played and listened to. Songs like albums that like everyone heard when we were...
I think everyone liked the first 4 bars of Led Zeppelin's When the Levee Breaks. Those drums.
That was a consensus song, yeah.
What was the turning point or the spark that made you decide you're not just into this as music fans, but this is really what you want to do? You're gonna get in the garage. You're gonna get instruments. You're gonna do this.
I think it was like pretty much like after like one of our first like few shows that we started doing, where it's like all people that we didn't know, like people that weren't just our friends coming out to support us. We'd look out to the front row and there'd be a bunch of people that we'd never seen before, like jamming out / singing along. So I think that was one of the big moments where it's like, hey, like this isn't kind of just like a self-indulgent thing that our friends like and that we do. Like this actually could be something. And that was probably what, like maybe 2007, 2008. No, earlier than that, 2006.
Yeah.
Around then, when we were like, yeah, like let's actually put all of our, you know, sails to the wind and go for it.
Agreed.
You also earned your dues playing, you know, everywhere and wherever you could type of thing. Do you find that these days there are a lot of young bands that are infatuated with the idea of stardom rather than music, and just because they figure they can put 10 songs out on their personal computer, they deserve to succeed, as opposed to really, you know, working for it? Like
I don't know if they think they deserve it, but they definitely think that it will happen, which I don't think is any different from anyone. Everyone assumes what they do is the best and kind of that all the best things are going to come out of it. But it's obviously a naive way of thinking. You gotta put your time in.
Obviously, you run into like, you know, like from
So
what
happens,
you're doing,
yeah.
like you'll run into artists and you'll run into like, you know, bands or whatever that like feel that they have like, you know, this kind of, you know, right as opposed to not having the rite of passage, and that kind of gets annoying sometimes. But I mean, like when it comes down to it, it's like if you did put out 10 songs on your personal computer, if they're great songs, then like that's all that really matters, you know. So they kind of have the right to be cocky if the songs are great. But you know, it kind of sucks when you come across somebody who you kind of feels justified for no reason. But I mean, that's life. It happens in every circumstance of life. So.
Like you guys said, though, I mean, you did it the hard way. You put yourselves through the fire. You know, you went through all kinds of twists and turns before you...
Still in the flames.
And you're still in the
flames?
flames?
Yeah. Still twisting and turning. Yeah.
Okay. You've said that your love of music is the reason we sleep in the studio and live on stage. Is Down With Webster a band that's most comfortable in the studio or live on stage?
Live for sure. Yeah. We've put more time into the live thing. Not to say that we haven't spent a lot of time in the studio, but being a band in this day and age, that's where you make all your money, and that's where you're going to be able to live off of your live performance.
And stage is also like your
And that's where we
stage.
started off too. Like we were always a live band. It was always started from us playing shows as opposed to having songs that were out.
And besides like, you know, obviously like, you know, the shows and like being in the studio is important, but like shows are kind of like where you get to present everything that you've worked on in the studio so hard. So it's
More gratifying. It's more you get more instant kind of gratification out of it. But we're working on the studio thing. I think we're actually going to be back in the studio in like 4 or 5 days, kind of all summer long. So we're going to go hard on that.
But you see the studio more an extension of the live thing than vice versa?
I don't know.
I don't think we've ever really given it much thought.
No.
I think we just
You'd be
try to write great
surprised.
songs, try and get them recorded the best we can, and try and take them on the road. I mean, it's kind of that.
We think very little. You'd be surprised.
Well, that's what I'm here for, to
Exactly.
make you think about these earth-shattering questions.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if people here in Ottawa have only heard the records, say, what are they going to get from you live that they haven't heard on the recordings?
The records translate live better than they do on a recording. That they tend to be louder and sound more aggressive.
More energetic. And
We jump around a lot. There's a lot of us on stage, and me and Bucky don't have any instruments, so we're just freaking out the whole time. And that's always fun.
What would you say is the most challenging thing that's happened to you guys as a band to date? What's really tested your resolve as a band?
each other.
Yeah.
It could be that.
Putting up with each other for a really long period of time and not, Marty's giving me the finger back there in the corner. See? Yeah, exactly. There's my problem. No, I think it's like anything. It's like there's moments where it looks hopeless, where you feel like, oh, I've been we were extremely young at the time, like probably only like 20 or 21, but had already been doing it for like since we were 13 or 14, and it was like, man, still nothing's happening. I got no money, blah. And I think it's hard to overcome periods where you feel like there's no hope in it. But then we've always been good at kind of sticking it out and believing in it and believing that what we do will work and is going to, and sort of stuck through it. I think that was some of the hardest stuff. Pat?
Yeah. No, agreed.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So getting near the wrap up here.
Uh-huh.
Here's a real stickler one for you.
All right, stickler one.
Ready?
Let's go. Yep.
What's the lamest question you've ever been asked in an interview so far?
Where's the band name come from? That's been asked probably, more times than I can count, and I'm just sick of it. Sorry.
How about which one of you is Webster and why are you down with him?
That would be equally that would be maybe even more lame. I've never heard it phrased like that, but you just outlamed my lame question. So well done, sir.
I do my best. I do my work well. So what's the summer game plan, guys? I understand you got Calgary Stampede after this.
No Calgary Stampede.
I misheard
there
them.
the past 2 years, but
It was going to be the hat trick, but no hat trick. We are going, as I said earlier, we're going back into the studio and just like locking ourselves in and trying to write a new record that we can take and tour.
And what's the plan for that to be out, do you hope?
There is no plan. All the plan is now is just try and write the best songs possible, and we'll figure stuff out on the fly. Music's first and foremost. All those plans come after.
Our best hope would for it to be out at around like the beginning of the next year. So let's maybe hope for that. But I mean, there's no real
Music first, plans second. Yep. Plans will come if the music's good.
Sounds good. You guys have a great set tonight at Ottawa Blues Fest, and we look forward to hearing you on vinyl sometime in 2013.
Or on vinyl, all right.
Well, vinyl better than disc.
right. Exactly.